So the ones I'm going to be talking about today are problems from my personal experience, the experience of those who I've worked with, and also the most frequent comments I get on my channel. So let's kick this off. Firstly, too much fiber. What's the issue? Well, too much fiber can cause gastric distress. Basically, it can make your tummy feel bad. And that's obviously a problem because if you want to be training, you need to have good digestion. And also, just not having good digestion kind of makes you feel a bit rubbish. It takes time for your body to adjust to a higher fiber intake. For me, it took about 8 to 12 weeks. For my gut microbiome to adjust to levels of 100 grams plus per day. I didn't mess around, I just went straight into it. For those who want a more modest approach to solving this problem and don't just want to put up with it like I did, let's talk about a fix, because I wasn't just going to give you all these problems without giving you ways to combat them. The obvious answer is consuming foods with less fiber. Swapping brown rice for white rice, consuming plain white pasta, consuming seitan, peanut butter, tofu, avocado. Certain foods you are going to want to keep in. Beans and lentils. That's where the fiber that you are going to be consuming is going to come from, and also is a good source of protein. So we're going to keep the beans and lentils in, but the other foods we're going to minimize the amount of fiber that we're intaking. By making sure that the other food that we're eating throughout the day is low in fiber, it will allow us to have those beans and lentils without going over on the daily goal for fiber. So each meal, one could be higher in fiber, but if you look at the totals per day, it's not going to be over the top. And by doing that, what we can do is slowly build up your body's tolerance to a higher fiber intake, and as your gut microbiome adjusts, it will no longer be a problem. Also, side note, make sure you soak and rinse your lentils and beans before cooking them. It will do you a world of good. Second problem, calorie density, or lack thereof. It is harder to build muscle if you cannot eat the required amount of calories per day to put your body in an energy surplus. And in general, vegan foods tend to be lower in calories. So it is feasible that you will have a harder time building muscle as a vegan if you do not manage your diet to some extent. It doesn't take much consideration. For me, for you, it might not be difficult. For the average person who hasn't tracked macros and doesn't really know what they're eating, they kind of just eat intuitively, it can be difficult. So the solution, and I'm sure you've heard this one before, is to select calorie dense foods. That way you'll be able to get in the required amount of calories, but you won't feel so full as the foods won't fill your stomach up as much. Avocados on toast, peanut butter on toast, dried fruit in your mouth. Add these to your day-to-day meal plan. Avocados on toast, an easy 400 calories right there. See what I mean? If you struggle to eat enough calories, consider drinking some of them. Make your own mass gaining smoothie. Don't buy a mass gainer from the shop, you know who I'm talking to. They're full of junk. Make your own. A banana, some protein powder, oats, peanut butter, some milk, whatever you think will work, blend it all up, and that is going to give you a significant amount of calories. Here's an example, pause if you need to. This, by the way, is the protein powder I'd recommend to use in those shakes. It tastes fantastic alongside all the other ingredients and digests brilliantly, which when you're consuming a ton of calories, you really want optimal digestion. So there's a link if you want to go and check it out, and you can use the code Physique at checkout for 10% off. The final problem that people have, and I've talked about this in the past, but it keeps popping up, so I'm going to refer to it again, is Tagalong carbs. Makes sense actually, tag along, because they kind of come with. Eat beans for protein, I say it all the time, but they also come with a lot of carbs. I get it. And the difficulty that presents to people is eating a certain amount of protein per day, but they're not overdoing the carbs at the same time. My solution? Well, firstly, I think that going over on carbs is not necessarily a bad thing. Carbs fuel gym performance, and gym performance is what determines your ability to stimulate muscle growth. So of course you want to provide an adequate amount of carbohydrates in order to do that. What you don't want is too many carbs that you end up going over on your overall daily calorie intake relative to what your goals are. So all you need to do is simply balance the food sources that come with carbs with food sources that come with fats. Have a fat and protein rich meal, and then have a carb and protein rich meal, and overall you'll be getting adequate amounts of all three. Take this for example, a block of tofu, spinach and nutritional yeast for one meal. Fat and protein rich. Look at the carbs as well, 8 grams, so basically nothing. Then kidney beans, chickpeas and a cruciferous vegetable for another meal. Carb and protein rich. Look at the fat, only 7 grams. Overall, we essentially have a 1-to-1 ratio of carbs to proteins. Now, I wouldn't recommend going below 2-to-1 when dieting, let alone if you're in a calorie surplus. I know this problem is a little bit more difficult to get around if you don't have experience with tracking macros, but hopefully I did a decent enough job of explaining it. I hope this video helps. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.